They fined me $750 for walking my dog on my own ranch. When the HOA president smugly handed me the violation, I didn't argue. I didn't sue. I bought every inch of land their neighborhood relied on. Their parks, their lake, even the ground under their clubhouse. Then I banned them all. But when they cut my fence and burned their own community down, that's when this war got criminal. I'm sorry. What did you say this fine was for? I asked, squinting at the yellow slip of paper taped to my ranch gate. My dog, Buddy, a golden retriever with more energy than a toddler on candy, was panting beside me, confused why we had stopped. The paper read in bold black letters. Notice of violation, $750 fine, unauthorized dog walking on HOA grounds. Except I wasn't on HOA grounds. I was on my land, 50-acre ranch that I bought with my own savings after retiring from 20 years in the Army. After 20 years of landmines, I thought barbed wire would be enough to keep the battles out. I was wrong. And the person standing smugly behind the gate, arms crossed in a crisp HOA uniform polo, was none other than Brenda Wiggins, president of the Willow Creek HOA and possibly the most entitled person west of the Mississippi. You can't find me for walking my dog on my own ranch, I told her, my voice calm but tight. Brenda's smile didn't reach her eyes. Per our new regulation, she purred, dogs must be carried on HOA land. Actually, we've updated the boundary lines. Your walking path now crosses into the protected commons. Buddy barked as if laughing at the absurdity. I couldn't help but chuckle bitterly. You've got 10 days to pay, she added with a smirk. Failure to comply means daily fines of $100. I leaned against the fence, heart racing. I had dealt with some petty people in my life, but this was a new level. That night, I opened my laptop. I didn't just want to fight this. I wanted to end it. 3 words kept echoing, own the borders. What happened next would shock even me. Let me take you back to where all this really started, because it didn't begin with the fine or shouting. It started with something much simpler. Peace. I moved to Willow Creek Ranch 2 years ago. I just retired after decades of military service. The goal was simple. Quiet mornings, coffee on the porch, and a wide field for Buddy to run around in. I wanted peace, that's all. The ranch sat on the outskirts of a gated community, not part of the HOA, not even close. It was separated by a wide gravel path, a few trees, and barbed wire fencing. I'd bought it for the space, not the neighbors. But Brenda Wiggins had other plans. She'd introduced herself on my first week there, clipboard in hand and a false smile pasted on her red lipstick mouth. Brenda was in her mid-50s, blonde bob haircut, and the kind of person who turned neighborhood watch into neighborhood war. Oh, hi. You must be the new rancher, she chirped. You're technically outside our community, but we do like to maintain a certain standard in the area. I smiled politely, but Buddy instantly didn't like her. He growled quietly. I should have trusted his instincts. The first few months were calm. I kept to myself. Buddy and I took daily walks along our dirt paths, watched sunsets from the pasture, and every so often waved at the occasional jogger from the nearby HOA houses. Then the complaints started. First, it was a letter. Dear Sir, your dog's barking echoes across the southern hedgerow. Please consider training him to bark less. Then it was the landscaping. Your overgrown tree limb extends approximately 3.5 feet into HOA airspace. Kindly trim it. Then the fireworks. 4th of July. I lit a few sparklers and a Roman candle for Buddy and me. It wasn't even loud, but Brenda reported me to the fire marshal, claiming I was operating explosive devices near a residential zone. That complaint didn't stick, but it planted the seed. Brenda didn't want me near Willow Creek. She wanted control. Still, I stayed calm. I dealt with worse under more dangerous conditions. This was just a woman with a rule book and megaphone. But then came the day that set everything in motion. It was a sunny Saturday. I had just finished mending one of my fences. Buddy needed his run, so I clipped on his leash and headed down a quiet dirt trail. The path curved near the backside of the HOA's southern border, well within my land. Unbeknownst to me, a hidden camera had been installed on a tree across the boundary. By Monday morning, a yellow fine notice was plastered on my front gate. $750 unauthorized dog walking. I laughed at first. I truly did. Thought it was some kind of bad prank. But then I saw the seal at the bottom. Willow Creek HOA Disciplinary Committee. And then I saw Brenda walking away, clipboard in hand. I called the HOA office. The woman who answered, Rachel, said, "Sir, we've reviewed the footage. You were seen stepping into HOA-controlled common land. All pet movement across that trail is a violation." I asked for the map. She sent me a digital version. They had redrawn the boundary. The trail I'd walked was now partially inside something called Community Buffer Zone A. I looked at my old map. That zone didn't exist before. They created it just to trap me. And suddenly it clicked. Brenda wasn't just trying to annoy me. She was baiting me. She wanted a reaction. I could have gone to court. I could have fought the fine, but I knew Brenda. That would only fuel her fire. So instead, I played her game. Quietly, I hired a property attorney named Vincent, who specialized in land zoning and private acquisitions. He was ruthless in the best way. We identified plots of land adjacent to Willow Creek, plots the HO used but didn't technically own. Their trails, their lake, their pride. Trails, parks, community event spaces, all privately held by a company in Florida who hadn't developed them in years. Vincent made an offer. They accepted. Then we kept going. An abandoned orchard used as a nature walk. Bought. A pond they held summer cookouts by. Bought. Even the small gravel parking lot the HO used as a visitor overflow area. Mine. I kept it quiet for 2 months. Then I posted the signs and the neighborhood lost its mind. People called, they emailed, some begged, others threatened. Brenda, she raged. She called the sheriff, the mayor, and even local news. But I had all the deeds, all the paperwork. Everything was legal. So when she stormed my gate demanding I remove the signs, I didn't just show her the documents. I pulled out a sealed letter from my lawyer, too. The caller ID flashed Brenda Wiggins. I smiled. She'd just seen the sold signs plastered across her lake. Every inch of open land surrounding Willow Creek HOA had been bought. Every trail, every strip of sidewalk easement, even the decorative lake Brenda liked to kayak in on weekends. Every bit of it now had a new owner. Me. And the owner had posted signs all around the community. No trespassing, private property, neighborhood access revoked until further notice. Now Brenda was banging on my ranch gate, yelling, "You can't just fan us. This is harassment." I stepped out holding the deed in one hand and my phone in the other, recording every second. Actually, I said, "I can," and I just did. But as I handed her the letter, something unexpected happened. Brenda ripped it in half and spit on my gravel driveway. "I'm not scared of you," she hissed. I didn't say a word. I just turned and walked back into my ranch house with Buddy. And that night, something happened on my property line that changed everything. That night I learned, some people don't knock. They cut. Long after the sun had gone down and the cicadas had started their chorus, I sat on my porch sipping sweet tea while Buddy laid beside me. The moonlight glowed over the fields and everything felt quiet again until it didn't. A sudden rustling came from the fence line. At first, I thought it might be a coyote or stray deer, but Buddy's ears perked up, and then came the growl, low and warning. I grabbed my flashlight and walked quietly toward the source of the noise. As I neared the edge of my ranch where Brenda had previously thrown her tantrum, the beam of light caught something metallic. My heart dropped. There on the ground were bolt cutters, and right beside them, fresh tire tracks in the dirt, heading straight toward my field. Someone had tried to cut through my ranch fence. I followed the tracks with caution. They didn't go far, just about 10 feet past the broken section before the vehicle must have turned around. But it was enough to make a point. Brenda or someone sent by her had trespassed. Now, it wasn't just about a fine or a grudge. It was criminal. I called the sheriff immediately and filed a report. He promised to send a deputy in the morning. I spent the night by the front window with Buddy at my feet, shotgun nearby, not to hurt anyone, just to protect what was mine. The next day, I installed trail cams on every inch of my property's perimeter. And then I did something even Brenda didn't see coming. I built a wall, not just a symbolic one, but a real 8-foot privacy fence made of reinforced cedar and steel posts surrounding every inch of my land that touched the Willow Creek HOA. It took 2 weeks. The workers were fast, and I paid well to keep it quiet. When the wall went up, the complaints came pouring in. How dare you block our view? You're ruining the neighborhood's aesthetic. We demand you tear it down. One woman screamed that her daily walk felt claustrophobic without the view of my open fields. Brenda marched down to the county office, trying to get it labeled a visual hazard. The clerk informed her the wall was on my property and met every building code. By the time the fence was finished, the HOA's fury had reached its boiling point. They were locked in. No trails, no emergency access, no lake use, no overflow parking, no buffer zone. Just a wall and signs and silence. But I didn't stop there. I had my lawyer send a formal cease and desist to the HOA, banning any member of their association from stepping foot on my land. Violation meant prosecution. Some neighbors were livid, others curious. A few even approached me privately to apologize and admit Brenda was out of control. One such neighbor was Tony Martinez. Tony lived in a modest 2-story house near the edge of the community. He was in his early 40s, a quiet guy with a wife, teenage daughter, and a love for grilling. I just wanted to say, Tony told me one afternoon, I think what they did to you is wrong. Brenda speaks for herself, not all of us. I appreciated the words. Honestly, I did. But my guard was still up. I don't hold it against the whole neighborhood, I said. But I won't tolerate threats on my land. Not anymore. Tony nodded. I get it. But if you ever need help fixing fences or anything, I owe you one. Just say the word. That conversation planted a seed in my heart. Not everyone in Willow Creek was a Brenda. Some were just stuck under her rule. But my moment of reflection was short-lived because that very weekend I received another letter. This time it wasn't taped to my gate. It was delivered directly to my ranch by certified mail. Inside was a crisp legal document complete with stamped seals and a bold heading. Cease and desist order, nuisance wall, and violation of community harmony, signed Brenda Wiggins on behalf of the Willow Creek HOA Board. They were trying to sue me for building a wall on my land. I stared at the document and laughed so hard I nearly dropped my tea. The HOA had just declared war, so I declared something of my own. The very next morning, I met with Vincent, my lawyer, and we put together a development plan. Not to build condos or homes. No, I plan to turn the buffer zones into a private wildlife sanctuary. No trespassing, no access, no HOA approval needed. But the best part? I was going to host a public ribbon-cutting event and not invite a single neighbor. That move alone caused chaos at the next HOA board meeting. Vincent got a copy of the minutes. Apparently, Brenda screamed, "He's trying to build a zoo next to our homes." A zoo? What if there are bears? Spoiler, no bears, just some rescued deer and foxes, but I didn't correct her. The fallout from the lawsuit filing got worse for the HOA. Some neighbors were furious that their dues were being used to fight a rancher on land he clearly owned. People started showing up to meetings demanding Brenda step down. Flyers popped up on doorsteps reading, HOA fees rising, but for what? Who's really protecting our community? That's when Brenda got desperate. She came back to my gate again, but this time she wasn't yelling. She was crying. I didn't mean for this to go this far, she said, wiping her eyes. I was just trying to keep the neighborhood nice. You didn't have to buy everything and block us out. I looked at her. This woman who had mocked me, fined me, tried to humiliate me. And I felt nothing. I gave you chances, I said. You turned peace into punishment. She looked away. Can we at least talk? She whispered, maybe work something out. But before I could answer, Buddy started barking again, loud and sharp. I turned. A fire truck was pulling up to the Willow Creek clubhouse. Smoke was rising in the distance, thick and gray. Brenda's mouth fell open. Someone had set fire to the Community Welcome Center, and the HOA's nightmare had just begun. What happened next would expose the true cost of Brenda's war. Clubhouse was burning fast. Thick black smoke curled into the sky, visible from my ranch porch. Buddy barked nonstop as sirens screamed down the road. I watched, arms crossed, as firefighters rushed to unroll hoses and pry open the flaming double doors. Brenda stood frozen on the sidewalk in her slippers, mascara streaking down her cheeks. It was her pride and joy, the Willow Creek HOA Welcome Center. A $600,000 building filled with oak furniture, HOA memorabilia, and portraits of every past president, most of which were her. Who would do this? She cried, turning toward her own residence. The neighbors gathered across the street, murmuring, some shaking their heads, others not even hiding their smirks. The fire department was quick, and by some miracle the blaze didn't spread to nearby homes. But the damage was total. The building was toast. The fire marshal arrived within the hour and ruled it suspicious. Arson. And not just a random act. There were clear signs of accelerant. The question on everyone's mind, who would burn down the HOA's clubhouse? Brenda had one answer. Me. 2 deputies showed up at my ranch that same evening. Buddy growled as they approached the porch. Evening, Mr. Graham, said Deputy Logan, nodding respectfully. We're just here to ask a few questions. I've got nothing to hide, I replied. Want sweet tea or the security footage? He blinked. You got footage? Multiple angles, I said. Night vision, infrared, and motion activated. I've had cameras since someone tried to cut my fence. I handed over a flash drive with the last 48 hours of surveillance. Every second stamped and verified. They thanked me and left. I didn't hear back for days. Until one afternoon, a silver pickup truck pulled into my driveway. Tony stepped out, his face pale. They arrested someone, he said. I set down my spade. I'd been planting wildflowers for the sanctuary border. Who? Tony looked over his shoulder, then whispered, Jason, Brenda's nephew. I blinked. What? The ring cam footage showed Brenda's nephew and the gas can she'd bought that morning. Turns out he was caught on a neighbor's ring cam sneaking around the clubhouse with a red gas can. Probably meant it as a warning to scare you, but he didn't expect the whole building to go up. My jaw tightened. Jason had been Brenda's errand boy for years. The scandal exploded. Local news covered it. HOA in flames. Suspect linked to president's family. Brenda tried to spin it. Claimed she had no idea what Jason was doing. Claimed she didn't even talk to him that week. But emails leaked. Turns out Brenda had sent Jason an angry message just 2 nights before the fire. Someone needs to remind Mr. Graham he's not king of the hill. He's just a dog walker with land. That was enough for the board to panic. Within a week, Brenda was suspended from her position pending investigation. She showed up at the next HOA meeting anyway. The room turned ice cold when she walked in. You don't belong here, someone shouted. We're done paying for your mess. Tony told me later she left in tears. And just like that, the queen of the HOA fell. But as the dust settled, another issue rose. What to do with the destroyed land? The clubhouse had sat on one of the parcels I now owned. Yes, you read that right. The HOA didn't even own the land beneath their precious welcome center. I did. They'd assumed the original developer had donated it, but the deal had never closed. I discovered it in county records while Vincent and I were buying up buffer zones. Now it was rubble and I had options. I could rebuild it into anything I wanted. A personal barn, a rescue shed, a community garden for any community except theirs. Or I could let it sit, let them pass by every day and stare at the blackened, burned foundation of what once was. I hadn't decided yet, but something else had been on my mind. Tony. He came by one evening with his daughter Sophia, who brought Buddy a bag of homemade peanut butter biscuits. Tony shook my hand, looked me in the eye, and said, "Thanks for standing up to them. For all of us. We didn't have the guts." I sighed. I wasn't looking to be a hero. I just wanted to walk my dog in peace. He nodded. I know, but sometimes the quiet ones are the ones who end up fighting the loudest. I respected that, and I started thinking, maybe there was something good that could come out of all this drama. Maybe the sanctuary wasn't just about animals. It could be about healing. So I started drawing up new plans. A few picnic tables, some walking trails, an area where kids could feed goats or learn how to plant herbs. But it would come with strict rules. No HOA members, no Brenda, no fake fines or phony bylaws. Just a space for people who respected the land and the people who owned it. I posted a sign a week later. Sanctuary in progress. Community inquiries welcome, except Willow Creek HOA. And right beneath it, a fine print line just for fun. Unauthorized dog walking, $750 per paw. The local paper did a story on it. People from nearby towns drove out to see it. A little girl wrote me a thank you letter with a drawing of Buddy wearing a crown. Things were finally settling down. But what happened next would test everything I'd built. One morning, a stranger knocked on my door. He wore a gray suit, sunglasses, and carried a briefcase. "You Mr. Graham?" he asked. "Yes," I said cautiously. "I represent a company interested in acquiring all land surrounding Willow Creek HOA. They're preparing to make you an offer." I narrowed my eyes. "What kind of offer?" He smiled, slid a folder across my porch table, and said, "One that might change the future of this entire neighborhood." The man in the gray suit stood calm and unreadable as I opened the folder. Inside were glossy renderings of a proposed eco-village, solar-powered cabins, communal gardens, nature trails, and a large education center for sustainable farming and wildlife conservation. Right in the middle, my land. "This is ambitious," I said slowly, flipping through the pages. "We believe Willow Creek is sitting on prime opportunity," he said. "And with the HOA imploding, the timing couldn't be better. Your sanctuary would be the centerpiece of the new development." I raised an eyebrow. "You're assuming I'm interested in turning my ranch into a tourist stop." "We're not asking you to sell everything," he explained. "Just partner. We develop the borders. You keep the heart. The community benefits. You benefit. And the HOA?" He gave a small smile. "They get surrounded." It was tempting, too tempting, but I wasn't one to make quick decisions. I asked for a few days to think it over, and he agreed. As he walked back to his shiny black SUV, Buddy came and sat beside me. I rubbed his ears, thinking, the idea of turning the place into something positive, something useful, was appealing. But I didn't trust just anyone with that kind of control. I'd seen how power turns small people into monsters, and I'd just finished dealing with one of those monsters. Later that evening, I visited the burn site again. The ashes of the old clubhouse had cooled, but the bitterness still lingered. That's when I saw her. Brenda standing at the edge of the lot, arms crossed, no makeup, no smug expression. She looked tired. "I came to say sorry," she said softly. I stared at her. "Now?" She nodded. "I've been a bully. I know that. I thought running the HOA gave me purpose, but I let it turn into a weapon." I didn't speak. "You beat me," she added with a strange smile. "Not with noise, but with patience and ownership." I finally said, "You didn't need to control everything. You just needed to coexist." She blinked rapidly. "I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted to say it." I let the silence stretch. Then I asked, "Why'd your nephew do it?" She shrugged, her voice catching. "Because he thought I wanted him to." She walked away without another word. It didn't make things right, but it was the first time I saw her without armor. The next day, I called a meeting, but not at the HOA. At my sanctuary site. I set up chairs under the shade of an old oak, posted a flyer in the general store and online. I told people it was a meeting about the future. About 30 neighbors showed up, some curious, some skeptical. Tony was there, so was Sophia, even a few former HOA board members. I stood up and said, I've been offered a chance to partner with a developer. They want to build an eco-village around the sanctuary. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. But I'm not here to tell you I've accepted. I'm here to ask, what kind of neighbors do you want to be? A man in the back raised his hand. Are you really banning us forever? No, I said. I banned bad behavior. I banned bullying. The gate is open to anyone who wants to start fresh. Another woman asked, and the wall? I smiled. That stays, but maybe we'll paint a mural on it. The tension broke. Laughter spread. Then Tony stood up. I say we help him build the garden, clear the trails, make this something we can be proud of, not controlled by a few. Hands went up. People clapped. Even Brenda, standing far back, gave a single nod. I knew what I had to do. That evening, I called the man in the gray suit, told him I wasn't selling or partnering. I'll develop the sanctuary myself, I said, with help from the people who actually live here. He sighed. Mr. Graham, you're missing a huge opportunity. No, I replied. I'm creating one. He hung up without another word. By the end of that week, the first stage of the sanctuary began. Volunteers came every day. We cleared weeds, built benches, planted flowers. They came with paintbrushes. Not because I asked, because they remembered what community meant. Sophia painted signs. Tony fixed the tool shed. We even built a wooden dog trail named Buddy's Run. The wall had new additions too. A beautiful mural painted by the entire community. An image of Buddy with sunflowers and blue sky. A piece of peace we all built together. Later that night, Tony and others returned to add finishing touches. Someone brought cookies. A teenager played music from a speaker. Someone set up a folding table with lemonade. It felt right. We finished the mural before sundown. And this time, beneath Buddy's smiling face, we added new words. This land doesn't divide us. It unites us. I leaned on the fence post, sipping lemonade as laughter filled the air. Then Tony stepped beside me. You know, he said, I heard a rumor. Oh! Some of the remaining HOA members are talking about disbanding it. I blinked. Seriously? He nodded. Too many lawsuits, too much backlash. Half the neighborhood wants to switch to a voluntary association. No dues, no board. I let that sink in. All the fights, the sabotage, the fire, the wall, and now the HOA might collapse from the inside. Guess karma really is patient, I muttered. And just like that, it was over. A few weeks later, a letter from the county board arrived. It read, as of this date, Willow Creek Homeowners Association has officially dissolved its charter. Oversight will revert to county governance. Residents may organize under new terms if desired. It was done. The HOA was gone. And in its place, a new banner at the sanctuary entrance. Welcome to Willow Ranch, a community without fences. The old HOA sign was removed from the neighborhood gate. A group of teens turned it into an art project, painting it bright yellow with sunflowers and the words kindness first across the middle. One afternoon, as I was restocking the tool shed, Tony walked up with Sophia and a few other neighbors. We were talking, he said, and we want to elect you to lead the new community co-op, just to keep things organized. I raised an eyebrow. I didn't sign up to be mayor. Tony laughed. You're not. You're just the guy we trust. I thought about it. All right, I said, but only if we agree that every dog has voting rights. Sophia giggled and pointed at Buddy, then Buddy's president. And just like that, we weren't just surviving anymore. We were thriving. But as things returned to calm, I received one last surprise. A letter. No return address. Just my name written in shaky cursive. Inside was a single line. You beat me, but I hope someday we can walk the trail together. Brenda. I folded it slowly, tucked it away, and said out loud, I hope so too. The next day, I threw the biggest barbecue Willow Creek had ever seen. There was music, dancing, goats wearing bow ties, and Buddy got his own burger. People came from 5 counties. Former enemies, new friends, reporters, even the mayor. Brenda showed up too, wearing jeans, a flannel shirt, and no clipboard. She brought a pie. I made it myself, she said awkwardly. It's apology pie. I took it. Just don't try to find me if it's undercooked. We both laughed. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I stood on the porch again, tea in hand, Buddy at my side. It was peaceful, but this time, it wasn't just quiet. It was earned. And as Buddy rested his head on my boot and snored softly, I whispered, "No more fences, no more fines, just freedom." The wind blew gentle through the trees, as if the land was finally exhaling. The war was over and the ranch was exactly what I always dreamed it would be. Home. If you enjoyed this story, comment below where you're watching from. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible tales of justice, redemption, and ranch-side revenge.